Our story picks up with our boy Franklin hanging on the sidewalk in front of his house. Things got a little out of hand for Franklin at the end of the last episode, so we've been laying low for a while we get our head straight. In case you missed it, you can find a link to the previous episode in the video description below. For now, just know that our dog Chop procreated, a slew of rival gang members were murdered, cops were killed, and a police helicopter was taken down. With our mind finally clear, we head inside to get a fresh change of clothes and plot our next course of action. Before we leave home, I head outside to check on Chop. I consider cleaning up the feces lying on the ground, but Chop is beaming with pride over the voluminous pile of excrement he produced, and I can't bring myself to take that away from him. With our pet ownership responsibilities handled, we hop in the whip to drive across town to visit Michael. We pull up to Michael's house and hear Michael yelling obscenities at his wife. It seems she's been doing more with her tennis coach than simply working on her backhand, and Michael has caught them in the act. Michael decides to go after the tennis coach who he caught defiling his wife. Franklin, not wanting to miss out on a good time, decides to tag along. We get in the car and follow the tennis coach to a home where he decides to take refuge. Franklin points out that the home is suspiciously extravagant for the wages of a tennis coach, but Michael couldn't be bothered with such seemingly insignificant details while being blinded by an insatiable thirst for revenge. They pull up to the house. Michael and the tennis coach exchange some pleasantries and bond over their mutual affection of Michael's wife, while Franklin attaches a winch from the truck to a pillar supporting the deck of the house. Michael gets in the truck and puts the pedal to the metal. The tires spin, the pillar gives way, and the house collapses. Michael and Franklin take a moment to bask in the glory of their revenge when Michael's phone suddenly begins to ring. We pick it up and find that it's the tennis coach. He tells us the house he was in that we just destroyed didn't actually belong to him. He says the house belongs to a Los Santos kingpin by the name of Martin Madrazo. Michael's unimpressed, but Franklin tries to warn him about the kind of man Martin is, and the mess Michael just got himself into. Franklin barely gets the words out before some of Martin's henchmen show up and start peppering Michael's truck with bullets. We tear through the streets, trying to lose them, but can't quite shake them off our tail. With retreating appearing to be out of the question, we do the next best thing and resort to some gratuitous violence. Franklin pulls out the Nina as Michael swings the truck around to give Franklin a clear shot at the target. Our Mark tries to take cover behind his SUV, but our aim is on point and the perp goes down. Coast appears to be clear for the moment, so we start the drive back to Michael's house. Michael's adrenaline is pumping and he's amped through the roof. It turns out that the seemingly unfortunate events that just unfolded have ignited the old criminal fire within Michael. He realizes that taking it easy, lounging by the pool, and sipping cocktails all day isn't the way he wants to live anymore. We get to Michael's house and head toward the door. But before we get inside, Martin Madrazo and his crew show up and confront Michael. Martin informs Michael of who he is, expresses his displeasure with Michael for pulling down his house, and demands that Michael come up with $2.5 million to pay for his home to be rebuilt. Michael explains that the whole thing was an honest mistake and agrees to pay for the rebuild. Martin is satisfied for the moment with their agreement, and he and his crew take off. After Martin is gone, Michael tells Franklin that he doesn't have the $2.5 million to pay for a new house for Martin. Being hard up on cash, Michael decides to get back in touch with one of his former colleagues named Lester. He needs Lester's help with planning a heist that will allow him to secure the much-needed funds. Michael gives Lester a ring. Lester tells Michael to come and pay him a visit. We start walking toward our car, and that's when Michael's marital frustrations with his skank of a wife start boiling back up to the surface. I start looking for a healthy outlet to help me blow off some steam, and suddenly I see a small dog in my peripheral vision. It's almost as if this dog was sent down from the Creator himself to help in my distress. Not wanting to shun divine providence, I use the dog for the purpose with which God sent it and give it a swift kick. Feeling much better after my therapeutic dog kicking session, I jump in the ride and hit the road. The drive to Lester's was longer than expected, so we stop at a scenic location along the way to stretch our legs and get some fresh air. We find a woman preparing for a run. We engage in some pleasant small talk, and she decides to challenge us to a race. The situation is less than ideal. We're wearing jeans and work boots and really need to get to Lester's house. Not wanting to back down from an opportunity to prove that men are physically superior to women, however, I decide to win some points for the patriarchy and take her down. I toy with her a bit, letting her stay ahead for most of the race in order to give her a false sense of security and save my energy to overtake her on the final stretch. My plan works to perfection. Michael nearly goes into cardiac arrest, but we survive, take home the win, and piss off a feminist, so it was all worth it.
Because patriarchy.
With our legs nice and stretched out, we get back in the car. On our way toward Lester's house, we drive by a construction site. I go in for a closer look and see a stack of steel pipes fall onto a truck with a worker trapped inside. The pipes damaged the engine and ruptured the fuel tank. It was only a matter of time before the truck would ignite into a fiery explosion. We spring into action, using a bulldozer at the scene to clear the pipes blocking the door, allowing our man to narrowly escape the truck with his life before it explodes into a million pieces. With our heroic deed completed, we continue our drive to see Lester, and just before we get to his house, we see another opportunity to flex our heroism muscles. A damsel in distress is on the side of the street screaming for help. As we follow her to the scene of the incident, she tells us we're approaching a situation of domestic violence. We pull out the strap to be prepared for anything. As we turn the corner, 3 men with guns jump out and attempt to rob Michael. We aim our piece and start dropping bodies like a G without an ounce of hesitation. We loot the bodies and consider putting a bullet in the head of the woman that set us up. In the end, I decide to let her live in order to leave someone alive who can spread the word of how hard I am and put some respect on our good name. I jump in the car and try to make my way to Lester's, but I immediately get rear-ended. Being so close to Lester's house, I consider shrugging it off and continuing toward my destination. But then the driver makes the mistake of popping off at the mouth, forcing me to defend my reputation. I jump out of the car to see if he still wants some smoke. He keeps running off at the mouth, so I throw hands, leave him lying in the middle of the road, and drive off. I finally arrive at Lester's house. The place is rigged with cameras and airtight security, but we confirm our identity and Lester lets us inside. Michael explains that he needs to quickly make some dough and asks if Lester can help him out. Lester says he's willing to help lend his aid, but he needs Michael's help with something else first. Lester tasks Michael with infiltrating a tech company called Life Invader. Lester has hacked into the CEO's emails and says he's being dishonest about Life Invader's next-generation phones. Lester has designed a piece of tech he needs us to install on the new phone prototype to sabotage the project. We jump in the car and start making our way toward the facility. Before Michael can hope to gain access to a tech facility overrun with Zoomers, he needs to look the part. We head to a local hipster clothing store and purchase some tech nerd threads. We jump in the cruiser and call Lester to let him know we're ready to rock. We approach the building and light up a cig while we patiently wait for an opportunity to present itself for us to breach the facility. A worker comes outside for a smoke break and we play it cool. After a little small talk, he says he needs our help with an IT problem. He lets us in and we follow him up to his desk. It turns out our man has engaged in some sketchy web browsing on the job and needs our help clearing some malware that's infected his PC. We close out the spammy pop-ups, run the virus protection software, and save our new friend from his embarrassing predicament. With our credibility no longer in question, it's time to find the prototype and install the hardware. We find the room a couple doors down, install the chip in the new phone prototype, and make our exit. We call Lester to tell him the good news of our success. He tells us to go home, turn on the television to watch Life Invader's announcement event for the new phone. He also gives us instructions to call the prototype phone as soon as the CEO unveils it at the event. We sit on the couch and find the Life Invader keynote speech being given by Life Invader founder and CEO Jay Norris. He hypes up Life Invader's new technology and starts showing it off. Seeing our cue to act, we call the phone as Lester instructed us. We ring the phone, Jay answers it, and the phone explodes, leaving onlookers panicked and his brain matter splattered all over the stage. Michael, having no idea that he had installed a bomb on the phone, is surprised by the ordeal, but quickly gets over it. He has bigger things to worry about right now, as he still needs to come up with $2.5 million to settle things with Martin Madrazo. With our part of the deal done, we call Lester to inquire about the heist he promised to help us with. He tells us to change into some more professional attire and then come and meet up with him. We put on our best suit and head out. On our way to meet Lester, Michael's wife Amanda calls him on the cell. She tells him she's being held up by a detective at a department store and needs Michael to come bail her out. After sleeping with her tennis coach and showing herself to be a common street whore, I consider telling her to figure it out on her own. I ultimately decide to be the bigger man and head to the department store to help her out of whatever predicament she's gotten herself into. We arrive at the store and Amanda is sitting in the back of a cop car. Getting her out of a locked police car seems out of the question, so I steal the car and start burning rubber. The police start swarming toward our location from all directions. We zig and we zag through the streets, lose the fuzz, and then find a quiet place to lay low until the law enforcement threat is gone. As we drive Amanda back home, she tells us that she was stealing from the department store, which is why she had been arrested. Michael engages in some obligatory wife shaming and reminds her that she's a garden tool for sleeping with her tennis coach, before dropping Amanda off at home and ditching the cop car on the street corner. With our vehicle back at the department store where we boosted the police car, we were in need of some new wheels. As luck would have it, we find a beautiful sports car nearby and easily convince the driver to let us borrow it for a bit. While on the way to Lester, we get a call from an unknown number. Michael answers to learn that it's our friend Ricky from Life Invader. He says he knows we're the one who took out the Life Invader CEO, Jay, and that he wants to work for Michael if an opportunity comes up that requires some tech-savvy brainpower. We save Ricky's contact info in the celly and head to an abandoned factory that Lester has turned into his own secret hideout. Michael and Lester discuss options for a heist and decide on robbing a local jewelry store. In order to plan the perfect robbery, Lester needs intel on the store, so we drive to the store to scope it out. Lester gives Michael a pair of photo-enabled glasses and tasks him with going into the store to take pictures of the security protocols and possible entry locations. We head into the store and take pics of the alarm system, security cameras, and ventilation points. Michael plays it cool by schmoozing it up with the lady behind the desk and then calmly strolls out and walks back to Lester. Lester says he still needs photos of the HVAC ventilation source on the roof. We locate an access point and climb on the roof where we use some local wildlife to engage in a little target practice and then snap the pics for Lester. With all the intelligence collected, we head back to the hideout to finalize the plan. We consider strategies for the heist. Michael tells Lester he wants Franklin in on the job. We also decide to give Ricky from Life Invader the chance to prove himself. He'll be in charge of disabling the security alarm and security cameras. With the plan formulated, we leave the hideout to wait for Lester to call and let us know once all the preparations are ready. Michael calls Franklin to let him know about the upcoming heist. Franklin is down for the cause, but needs to make sure his trigger finger is ready in case things go awry. Franklin prepares by heading to the shooting range to get some target practice in. We do a couple of rounds of target practice with the pistol, and after getting a perfect score on the second attempt, we're feeling good about our skills with the gat and head out. It's a beautiful night in Los Santos, so we go for a drive around town with the drop top down. We see a dodgy NPC hiding in the bushes and decide to check it out. We confront the sketchy character and learn that he's a paparazzi looking for opportunities to catch celebrities in compromising situations. As we're chatting it up, a megastar named Miranda Cowan happens to walk by and gets into a limousine. Our paparazzi friend asks for our help. He needs us to drive a motorcycle up to the limo so he can get some pics of Miranda inside. Never one to shy away from a good time, we jump on the bike and start closing in on the limo. We get our man nice and close to Miranda's limo and he snaps a bunch of pics that would make TMZ jealous. Just when it seemed like our task was complete, a rival paparazzi swoops in and starts snapping pics of his own. Our pictures won't be worth nearly as much if someone else gets the scoop, so we must eliminate the competition ASAP. We chase him down and slap him off his bike like a boss, destroying his camera in the process. With the competition eliminated, we ride out to a safe location, negotiate payment for our services rendered, and receive a brand new-ish stolen motorcycle for our troubles. Meanwhile, Michael is driving back home to rest up while he waits for Lester to give the green light on the jewelry store heist. Michael tries to chill out, snacking on some chips and watching the tube, but his time of relaxation is quickly cut short. His son Jimmy is playing a video game in the other room and loudly trash-talking a bunch of 9-year-olds as a perfectly legitimate means of improving his own self-esteem as a grown man. Michael doesn't agree, however. He scolds Jimmy for wasting his life away playing video games. Things get heated and Michael smashes Jimmy's flat-screen TV in his anger. Contentious words are exchanged between the two before Michael explains to his son that he just wishes that he and Jimmy could spend more quality time together. After brainstorming some activities they can do together, they decide to go on a bike ride along the beach. Michael and Jimmy get to the beach and rent a couple of bikes. Jimmy challenges us to a race and sets the stakes. If Jimmy wins, we have to buy him a new flat-screen TV to replace the one we just smashed. We agree to the conditions and start pedaling. We score one for the boomers by kicking Jimmy's millennial ace. A conversation ensues in which Michael starts pointing out all of Jimmy's life failings. Then, Jimmy does what any child desperate to deflect a parent's attention away from themselves would do in this situation. He tells his father about all the sinful sexual escapades of his sister Tracy and shows Michael the yacht she happens to be on that is just off the pier. Jimmy's deflection tactic works as Michael is determined to go rescue his little girl Tracy. We channel our inner Baywatch and dive into the ocean to save our sweet little girl from a gang of sexual predators. We board the yacht, assert our dominance, and get Tracy out of there. Tracy warns us that the crew we just assaulted are not to be messed with. Michael, being a true alpha male, shrugs it off. Michael and Tracy jump on a jet ski and start hauling across the water as gunshots ring out and bullets whiz by. We speed around the channel and eventually create enough distance to get the sexually deviant thugs off our trail. With the coast clear, we drive back to meet up with Jimmy. Tracy lets Jimmy have it for telling Michael where she was and what she was up to. They then bond over their mutual dislike of their father, and the siblings leave their father and head home. Michael has made a real mess of things today. His marriage is in shambles, he owes a Los Santos kingpin $2.5 million, he assassinated the CEO of a big tech company, and he now has both of his kids livid at him over his intrusions into their lives. With all that has gone down today, we take some time to unwind with a stogie, gather our thoughts, contemplate our life decisions, and prepare for the upcoming jewelry store heist. Be sure to subscribe to make sure you don't miss the next episode in our GTA 5 story, and blast that like button to let me know you want more GTA 5 content. Stay tuned for the next episode.